I know it might be a bit, I'm trying to like, it might be a bit hard to see my eyes. I'm wearing my glasses because I took out my contacts and my glasses have blue light on them, like reflecting blue light. So sometimes it might be a little glossy. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to, if you just see me moving weirdly, just know I'm trying to make sure that you can see my eyes and not just glares. Anyways, today I'm going to be doing something different. If you want to get straight to the recap of the episode or episodes, I don't know, maybe you'll find out later. You can go here. You can go here. It's always here. Otherwise, I'm going to there's no like rules and parameters because basically what I'm going to be doing is recapping my favorite episode of every Doctor. And when I say every Doctor, I'm talking about new Doctor Who, not older Doctor Who. I don't have access to older Doctor Who. This is kind of going to be a series. It's not going to be like a weekly thing. It's going to be an every so often thing. So today I went through and like looked at the Ninth Doctor's one season and figure out which one I believed was my favorite episode, which is kind of hard to do because a lot of the Ninth Doctor's season episodes are two-parters, which I didn't even realize until I had to like sit and look at it and be like, which one do I want? But yeah, a lot of them are two-parters. So I genuinely sat and combed through it. I actually slept on it because I was like, I don't want to proclaim to the internet that this is my favorite Ninth Doctor Who episode, and that's not it. And I feel regret. So that's what I did. The decision for which out of the Ninth Doctor's season I found to be my favorite episode, I was actually struggling between the Slitheen. Yeah, Slitheen. I say Veen with a V, but it's like as a th sound, so Slitheen episode and the gas mask episode. And that's because both of these two-part stories I find to be genuinely entertaining. And like I said earlier, I had to sleep on it to decide which one I thought was my favorite because there's just good juiciness that happens in both episodes. But I eventually ended up deciding on the Slitheen episode actually being my favorite plot storyline that happens within the Ninth Doctor's season. And I will get more into why that is kind of throughout the video. I'll sprinkle it in as I'm doing the recap. But yeah, let's just get into the recap of the two Slitheen episodes that happen within the Ninth Doctor season, that being episode 4 and episode 5. So I'm going to be starting with episode 4, and it's called Aliens in London. So the episode starts with the Doctor and Rose landing back at Rose's place where she normally stays. When Rose gets back, she kind of just asks the Doctor, like, how long has it been? How long have we been gone? And the Doctor tells her 12 hours. And of course, this point surprises her because I'd genuinely be surprised too if we're time traveling and you tell me it's been 3 months for me and then you tell me it's only been like 2 seconds since I've left. That would like blow my mind. So she ends up going to head back up to go and see her mom because she believes at this point it has only been 12 hours since she's left. So she's like, okay, I'll just tell my mother that I went to go stay at a friend's house. She'll think nothing of it because that's something that's happened before. And as she goes up, the Doctor's kind of like wandering a little bit, and then he looks on a pole and he sees a missing sign for Rose. She has been missing. And so then this causes him to rush up to the apartment, and when he meets Rose, Rose is face to face with her mother, who looks defeated, honestly, is how I would describe it. And we come to realize from the Doctor saying she has not actually been gone 12 hours. She has been gone 12 months. So then Rose and the Doctor, but mainly Rose, gets interrogated by her mother and a police officer. And Rose doesn't actually give her mother a true response as to where she has been. She just says that she's been traveling. And the Doctor said, I kind of adopted her as my companion. And then the police is like, oh, so you guys are together? And they're like, no. Then we get this like cute scene right afterwards where Rose and her mother, the reason I highlight it is because her mother kind of like, she goes from being extremely happy to seeing her daughter to very angry as to where has she been, what has she been up to, and then sad again, being like, why did you leave me? It's like the 5 stages just in 1.5 seconds. So her mother, well, I'll call her mother Jackie because that's her name, Jackie Tyler. Jackie and Rose reconcile, but at this point, Rose still does not tell her where she's been because she later tells the Doctor in a scene right after this scene, because they're on the roof at this point, that she can't tell her mother that she's traveling through time and space. It's not something that she thinks her mother would understand or something she wants to explain to her mother. But as Rose is on the roof with her Doctor and he's expressing this to her, she's also saying, but it's kind of crazy. I have no one to talk to this stuff with beyond you because no one else knows aliens exist. And the minute she says that, a spaceship flies overhead and flies throughout London and ends up hitting Big Ben and then landing by the London Eye, that like watery area if you're from that area. And of course, the Doctor and Rose go to investigate, and so do many other people because a spaceship just flew through London. Like, I would investigate too. Honestly, no. Would I investigate? I think I might stay inside. I'm just like, you know what? I know what's about to happen. I'm gonna stay inside. I'm about to eat my favorite meal and go about my day. I can't do it. I'm not even gonna try to go and investigate. I know what's about to happen next. I'm good. But out of excitement, Rhoda is like, oh, we can go. We can investigate this. We can investigate this in a way normal people can't because we have the TARDIS. And the Doctor's like, no, we cannot go and take the TARDIS with us because something just landed in the middle of London. There's gonna be a lot of eyes, a lot of people. We don't need to get the TARDIS wrapped up in this. So with that, Rose is like, okay, so instead of taking the TARDIS, I guess we can go and watch it on TV like everyone else does. And so that prompts this scene of the Doctor, or we don't get to see the Doctor, but we get to see different television news sites reporting on what is happening. And so through these different like TV broadcasts, we are introduced, I might butcher this name, to General Ascuth. Ascuth, I think. Yeah. If it's wrong, I'm sorry. I'll put it on screen if you want to know how it's spelled. But he is basically entering the hospital to investigate this alien that has been brought up. And we also get an introduction to Tashiko, which if you don't know who that is, she's an important character in Torchwood. Because I'm working on something else that might be coming, I don't know when, I keep highlighting or I keep pointing out in my notes when I notice a character from Torchwood show up in Doctor Who. And at this point, just in the Ninth Doctor season, it has been twice. But this character is not necessarily named, but I would not be surprised because Torchwood and Doctor Who take place in the same universe if this was one of her first introductions to aliens in the Doctor Who Torchwood universe. But she basically is the person who shows the general the body of the alien, and to him, we don't get to actually see the alien body, but we get to know from his expression that this is not something that's obviously normal. And then in the scene, we also find out that there are rumors that the prime minister is missing. These are not confirmed by the general, but it is something that is kind of hinted at. And then we jump to another news report. And in this news report, we are introduced to Joseph Green, who is MP for Hartley Dale, as he enters the government's office on Downing Street. I'll be calling Joseph Dale just Joseph from now on. But once he enters the office, he is immediately greeted by a man named Indra Ganesh, who I'll just be calling Indra. And Indra basically acts as his assistant as he is on Downing Street. But as Indra is informing Joseph of what is going down, they are stopped by Harriet Jones, who is an MP for Flydell North. She is important later on, which is why I mention her now, but instead of calling her Harriet Jones the rest of the episodes, I'm going to just be calling her Harriet. But Joseph and Indra head upstairs, and Indra basically informs Joseph that because the Prime Minister has gone missing and no one knows his whereabouts, Joseph is now the acting Prime Minister as of that very moment. And as they get upstairs, before they enter the cabinet room, we are introduced to Margaret Blaine, who belongs to MI5, and we are also introduced to Oliver Charles, who is transport liaison, and they basically start talking to Joseph, and Joseph decides, let's all convene in the cabinet room to discuss further what we are going to be doing. Once they get into the cabinet room, they're all standing at the table and they all just start laughing. The reason I like this is because I think back on times when this was my first time watching these episodes, and you don't understand what's going on, and it's just kind of like we know they're the aliens, but we do not know what type of aliens they are or how they look like yet, which is pretty cool. I should also mention that through that entire exchange that Joseph was having with Indra, he's just been farting, like just straight up ripping and apologizing for it. So I commend Indra for not making a scene, because I've come to realize from other people telling me that I'm not as good as hiding my reactions as I thought I was at one point. So if I was trying to give someone information and then out of nowhere they start ripping, I wouldn't be able to keep a straight face. I might lose my job that day. I'm gonna be honest with you. But then we cut back to the apartments, and the doctor is on his way heading out, and him and Rose have this exchange. And honestly, in this exchange, it just kind of feels like she's nervous that he is going to leave her. Obviously, she expresses this to him, and what he ends up doing to assure her that he's not leaving her is gives her a key to the TARDIS. And then after that, she goes back inside and goes and sits with her family and her neighbors in the apartment because they have all been in the apartment at this point. And the doctor goes off in the TARDIS, and he actually does end up taking off, but he doesn't leave the planet. He actually goes to the hospital where the events with Toshiko happened earlier. But then we cut back to Downing Street, and Harriet Jones is upstairs. And as Joseph, Margaret, and Oliver are heading out of the cabinet room, Harriet kind of stops them because she's trying to give them her plan. Obviously, Joseph brushes her off. They all leave. Indra goes with them, and this gives Harriet enough time to be able to sneak into the cabinet room. And while she's in the cabinet room, she ends up opening this briefcase that is full of protocols that are supposed to be used by Joseph at this point in time when there is an alien encounter, an alien attack happening. So just remember, she's in the cabinet room as of this very moment in time. And now we cut back to the doctor, and he again is at the hospital. And when he opens the door to the closet that he parked the TARDIS in, he is immediately surrounded by soldiers. Of course, they all just kind of like point at him, but then they hear a scream, and they all, with the doctor, go and run after and see who was screaming, and it was Toshiko. And in this kind of scene exchange, we get to see the alien, which ends up being a pig looking alien, like a straight up just pig in a spacesuit. And at the end of the scene, the pig ends up getting X'd by one of the soldiers, and then the doctor scolds the soldier for pew pewing the pig because it was running away because it was scared. And I know it feels like I'm jumping around, but it's because this episode jumps around from all these different sets, so I'm sorry if that's bothering you. I'm literally just tracking how it is done in the episode. Because next we jump back to the cabinet room. Joseph, Margaret, and Oliver are heading back into the cabinet room, and remember, Harriet is in there, so she ends up hiding into a closet. And as Joseph, Margaret, and Oliver are in the cabinet room, they are being followed by General Askew. I'm just going to be calling him General from now on because I don't want to butcher his last name. They're being scolded by him because the general does not believe that Joseph, as the acting prime minister of this time, is doing enough to solve the issues that have arose with the aliens. He doesn't believe like he's done anything at all. The general threatens to relieve him of his position and enact martial law. And upon this, instead of being scared or nervous, Joseph actually ends up unzipping his head, and so do Margaret and Oliver, and they all attack the general with Harriet watching from the closet. Then we cut back to the doctor with Toshiko, and he basically reveals to her that the pig alien was not an actual alien. It was a human pig. A human pig? It was a pig from Earth who had been turned into an alien, and it was just simply a hoax. It was a hoax, it was a decoy, and of course the doctor runs away to the TARDIS before he can even answer any more of Toshiko's questions as to why this would happen. And then back at the apartment, this is before the doctor shows up to the apartment, Mickey informs Rose that the doctor has left, and she's like, no, he hasn't. And this kind of prompts a scene between Mickey, Rose, and Jackie, because Jackie did not tell Mickey that Rose has come back. And I honestly believe she did this is because I think she thought that Mickey had something to do with Rose's disappearance, even though, of course, now we know he had nothing to do with her disappearance. But at the end of their little exchange, they all head downstairs. It was mainly just Mickey and Rose, but Jackie was following them, and the TARDIS appears right in front of them. And this is Jackie's first introduction to the world of the Doctor, aliens, space travel, what have you. And after just seeing the inside of the TARDIS, Jackie runs back into the apartment, and as she is sitting in her bedroom and she sees this ad on the TV asking about, if you've seen anything about aliens, please call this number. She calls the number on the TV, which I understand why she did it. She was a concerned mom, but like, could you imagine? I don't know. Maybe it's because I have trust issues, but I wouldn't trust that anybody I was going to call on TV was actually going to be able to fix any of the problems that I'm experiencing at this point in time. But when she is calling the people, she ends up using keywords like the doctor, TARDIS, words like that. And I think the helpline led to Downing Street. So this sets off an alert system in Downing Street. And so they go to pick up the doctor because, an alien, whatever is happening right now, they don't completely know. sorry, they don't completely know what is happening. So they want to find the doctor because he would be a good informant in this situation, in this crisis. But as the alarms are going off at Downing Street, we get a cut back to the cabinet room where instead of being in Oliver's body, the alien has now transferred into the general's body. So now the general is an alien, Margaret is an alien, and Joseph are aliens. And they basically just take Oliver's skin and hang it up in the closet that Harriet is hiding in. They don't see her, but they just hang the skin up like it's nothing. It's crazy. And then cutting back to the TARDIS, as soon as Mickey, the doctor, and Rose step out of the TARDIS, they are surrounded by police officers and helicopters. And Mickey runs away so he does not get caught. And Rose and the doctor are escorted to Downing Street by the police. While one of the police officers, one of the head police officers, decides to go up to Jackie Tyler's home and talk to her, which we'll come back to a little later. Back at Downing Street, the doctor is basically given an ID, and so is every guest, because at this very point in time, every person who has intel or information or is educated on the topic of aliens is meeting for a meeting. And obviously, the doctor is one of those people, so they're all given a name tag, but Rose is left behind. Indra tells the doctor that she does not have clearance. He does not even have clearance, so neither of them can enter the room. And Harriet ends up scooping up Rose, and she's like, well, I mean, neither of us can go in, let's just go sit over here, I'll watch her, she's fine. So the doctor goes into the meeting room and Harriet swoops Rose off into a separate corner. As Harriet has Rose's attention, she basically tells Rose everything that she saw happen in the cabinet room. She also even takes her up to the cabinet room to show her the proof of what she saw, because she believes, since the doctor is someone who has high clearance to be able to get into that room and she's friends with the doctor, she would be someone that she could tell this information, which obviously she is. And in the meeting room, of course, right away, the doctor takes center stage and he basically kind of theorizes out loud that this is a setup, that they're all supposed to be here because why would the aliens have a decoy in the spaceship, have the spaceship hit London? And he believes it's because the aliens wanted all the high people who know who aliens are and could do something about this problem to meet in one space. But he doesn't know why they should meet in one space, but that they should meet in one space. And so he kind of believes they're all in danger. And this is the end of the episode, so we kind of have cuts to 3 different things happening in tandem. So I'm going to say them in order. Basically, after the doctor announces this, Joseph and the general were the 2 people sitting at the front of the room. And so the general starts to unzip his head and reveal himself to everyone. In the cabinet room where Harriet and Rose is. So at this part, I wanted to correct myself because I got a few details wrong. Basically, Harriet and Rose end up finding the body of the Prime Minister, and then as they do this, Indra enters the room and kind of questions them, and then Margaret ends up coming into the room. I mentioned a bit later that they discover the Prime Minister's body, but they end up discovering the Prime Minister's body now, and his body's already just laying on the floor when the doctor, Harriet, and Rose enter the room again. And then at the flat, remember, Jackie was getting interrogated by a police officer. This police officer also ends up being an alien. So as she's in the kitchen, I believe, preparing tea for both of them, the police officer, who's an alien, starts to unzip his head. And then in the meeting room, the aliens reveal that their name is the Slitheen. Margaret attacks Indra. The police officer runs at Jackie. And then our episode ends with the meeting room full of the top specialists who know about aliens, being electrocuted. Now let's go straight into the next episode because obviously these go together. So our next episode, which is called World War III, Margaret has X'd Indra, but before she gets to Rose and Harriet, she's getting electrocuted by her name tag. And also in the meeting room where everyone else was getting electrocuted, Joseph and the general end up getting electrocuted because they were wearing the same exact name tags. I should also say, because I didn't mention, Joseph is the one who set off the name tags that were supposed to electrocute everybody. So I'm confused as to why, if he was wearing one, he didn't think he'd get electrocuted with them. And then the police officer also ends up getting electrocuted. So I think it more so had to do with the aliens also have this like device around their neck that helps them to be able to fit into these human bodies. So I believe when they were putting on the machine to electrocute everyone with the name tags, it also affected their machine that they already naturally wear around their necks. But because they are getting electrocuted, this gives everyone time to escape. That being, Jackie gets saved by Mickey. Rose and Harriet start to escape Margaret, but Margaret is able to get the device electrocuting her off, so she starts chasing Margaret and Rose. And in the meeting room, all the experts end up getting X'd, and the doctor is the only one to survive. The doctor runs out into the hallways and tells the soldier that the aliens are in the meeting room, but by the time he brings the aliens back into the meeting room, all that's left is just Joseph and the general. They are higher ranking people and they just look human, and so they tell the soldiers that the doctor is the one responsible for doing all of this. And the doctor does try to say, hey, it wasn't me, it was them two, but obviously they're not going to believe the doctor over the acting prime minister. So they start chasing the doctor because Joseph and the general also say that they want the doctor executed immediately, but the doctor ends up escaping because when they cornered him, he was up against an elevator, so he just takes the elevator upstairs. It's different things like this that make me enjoy Doctor Who in general, but also enjoy these episodes because it's just like the little smart little quiffs of the Ninth Doctor that happen throughout all his episodes. But back with Rose and Harriet, they end up hiding in a room. I don't think this room necessarily has a name, it's just like one of the rooms that exist within the offices. And because the doctor escaped, Joseph and the general are going to go after him, and they basically tell the soldiers that they need to stay downstairs. No one is allowed on the upper levels. He tells the soldiers, like, the upper levels are on quarantine, something like that, or they're down. They're just not allowed to go up there. If the doctor does come downstairs, come after him downstairs, but don't go up. And the reason he does this is not because the upper floors are on quarantine, it is because it gives him and his family the chance to disrobe, is what I'll call it, take off their human skin and show their actual alien faces and alien selves. And so as they are on the elevator, that being Joseph and the general are on the elevator heading upstairs, they disrobe, they take off their human suits, and they meet up with Margaret, and they all go hunting for the doctor, Harriet, and Rose. The aliens are about to X Rose and Harriet, but the doctor comes in and kind of distracts them with the fire extinguisher, and then they all run out of the room. They run to the cabinet room, and of course the aliens go after them, but the cabinet room has one entrance and one exit, just like that being a door. So before they can run into the room, the doctor interrogates them. From the interrogation, what we find out is that Slitheen is not the name of the alien race. It is a family name. And then the aliens that are attacking are a family of aliens. And that's all the doctor knows at that point. He doesn't know why they are attacking. But he ends up locking himself, Rose, and Harriet in the cabinet room. And through a news broadcast, we see more aliens show up. Well, not, they are aliens, but the more aliens in human suits as high-ranking officials show up to Downing Street. And of course, we know that these are Slitheen family members in disguise. And by the end of the episode, I end up counting about 9 Slitheen family members, just so you can have that information. But while in the cabinet room, Rose opens a closet, a different closet than what Harriet was hiding in, and they find the prime minister's body. And Rose basically questions the doctor. She's like, why wouldn't they use the prime minister's body since they want the suits of high ranking officials? Why wouldn't they do the prime minister? And he basically tells Rose that the prime minister was too small of a host to host the Slitheen, and they use this device on their necks called a compression field that allows them to take human bodies and make themselves smaller to fit in them, because Slitheens are like 7 feet tall. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but I don't think I am. I think they are about 7 feet tall. And again, they're also trying to theorize as to why they're making this big spectacle. And Harriet, who, again, like, she went into the cabinet room before and she did look over the emergency alien plans, and she basically informs them that the atomic bomb codes, which will be relevant for later in the episode, are in the hands of the UN. Like, the UK doesn't just simply have access to the codes to make an atomic bomb go off. But using Rose's phone, the doctor is able to make a call from Mickey to basically gain access to the internet to help them figure out what is happening and what plan they can use to get rid of the Slitheen and to save the day. But as Mickey is like typing up on the computer, Jackie ends up going to the door, and the police officer that attacked her earlier is back. The alien is back. And so as Mickey and Jackie are being attacked, the doctor, Harriet, and Rose are trying to figure out what type of alien the Slitheen are so that they can help Mickey and Jackie be able to escape the threat that the one alien is causing them. They basically end up narrowing it down, which I love this scene because the doctor's just sitting there and they're like hurling like, oh, they're 7 feet tall, they're green, they're this, and he's like narrowing it down in his head which planet these aliens might be from. I'm gonna put the name of the planet right here. This is not the name of their race. This is the name of the planet they come from, and I'm going to try to pronounce it. I actually rewatched the clip of him saying it multiple times just so I could try to get this correct and not butcher it, but I believe it is pronounced Raxacoricophalopatorius. I believe that is it. So with this information, the doctor is able to tell Jackie and Mickey that they need something with vinegar, anything with vinegar. And so what Jackie does is she just gathers pickled vegetables, vinegar, pickled eggs, puts it all in a bowl, and then when the alien comes in, she throws it at the alien, and at first nothing happens, but then the alien just explodes, and so they're saved. And also, now knowing where these aliens come from helps the doctor to kind of formulate why they are here. Even more information to formulate why they are here. But as this is happening, Joseph also, because remember he's in the body of someone who's considered the acting prime minister at this point, he goes out to the crowd and he announces that the UK, Britain, is under alien attack, that there are spaceships in the sky and this could mean war. The planet should be scared, and he begs the UN to give him the atomic bomb codes so that they are able to fight back against the aliens. And then cutting back to the doctor in the cabinet room, he ends up opening the cabinet room door to confront the Slitheen. And what he basically finds out is, I'm going to read it from here so I could just like say it specifically. The Slitheen wanted to cause mass panic around the world to force the world to basically bomb each other. And while they are bombing each other, while World War III is happening, the Slitheen would be sitting on their spaceship, just honestly waiting until it's over. And then they would sell different parts of the earth because the earth at this point would be radioactive. So they'd sell radioactive pieces of earth to whoever wants to buy it because those radioactive rocks would act as fuel for different ships across the galaxy. And so, of course, the doctor's not okay with this, destroying millions of people just to make a profit, just to make fuel for spaceships. So he gives the Slitheen a sort of ultimatum. He's like, y'all can leave right now or you're gonna have to deal with me. And I would never want to be on the receiving end of that threat from the doctor, because if you're a Doctor Who fan, then you know your best bet is that first option, because if he goes with that second option, it's night for you. But of course the Slitheen just laugh at the doctor. They don't take his threat seriously. The doctor just closes the cabinet room again and they go upstairs to the prime minister office to wait for the call for access to the codes. But as this is happening back in the cabinet room, obviously the doctor doesn't sit still. He comes up with a plan and he asks Mickey to hack into a service, and basically through this service the doctor formulates his plan to use a missile from a submarine ship to destroy Downing Street, obviously where the aliens are. And he wants to do this before the Slitheen are given access to the atomic bomb codes. And so that's exactly what he ends up doing. Mickey ends up launching a bomb from a submarine ship and is heading towards Downing Street. I should also say that as this is happening, we do cut to a scene of the Slitheen in the Prime Minister office, and from the television service we are told that they actually do in fact get access to the bomb codes. But cutting back to the doctor and the gang, that being Rose and Harriet, in the cabinet room, they are preparing for the bomb to come. They end up sheltering in a closet. All the soldiers that were downstairs get an alert that there is a missile heading towards Downing Street, so they evacuate the building. They also evacuate the surrounding street. The bomb does end up hitting Downing Street, and the doctor, Harriet, and Rose survive in that closet, and the Slitheen family is destroyed, most of them, but that's later episodes. And so our episode basically ends with them coming out of the closet that they were sheltering in. And throughout this entire episode, the doctor's like, I recognize the name Harriet Joan. Where is it from? And then he's like, at that point in time, he remembers she's going to become the future prime minister, which I bring up because it's like, I just finished in my like timeline of watching Doctor Who, I just finished the 10th Doctor's season. So when I'm hearing things like this, I'm thinking of the one episode where she ends up destroying a spaceship and the doctor tells one of the soldiers that's with them, he literally just whispers in his ears, doesn't she look tired? I don't know. I'm just thinking of all the stuff that's going to be coming ahead just from where we are now. I know that doesn't completely make sense, but I'm excited. That's all you need to know. And then him and Rose head back to the flat. He doesn't go up to the flat, he goes into the TARDIS, but Rose goes and sees her mother, hugs her. And then Jackie does make an effort to get to know the doctor. She's like, I'll invite him over for dinner. And then Rose gets a call from the doctor. And I think this is very interesting. I think one day I would definitely want to do a video deep diving each doctor and their personality. I simply say that because like years ago I saw this video of people talking about how mean the 11th Doctor is, but I'm like, this is known because like I've seen different parts of the 10th Doctor and the Ninth Doctor, and like I think the Ninth Doctor has this trend of wielding a bit of power over Rose. In this scene, she's like, you should come around for dinner. He's like, that's not my thing. And he basically gives her this ultimatum and is like, you can either come with me or you can stay there. Which one do you want to do? And I wouldn't say he phrases it nicely. And when Rose's mom comes back to ask her like what he wants to eat or what he's into, she's in her bedroom packing to leave. And of course, her mother doesn't want her to go, but eventually her and Mickey end up escorting her down to meet the doctor for her next travels. And the episode completely ends with Mickey and Jackie standing there watching the TARDIS leave. So I want to go a bit more into why I picked this as my favorite episode. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. But I picked this episode as my favorite episode, especially over the other episodes because I like the action in it. I've always liked the Slitheen as characters, as aliens, I should say, because they don't show up that often. They do show up again, but they don't show up as like a reoccurring alien like you would say the Cyberman or the Daleks. I think they're one of those unique aliens that have their time period and then you don't see them again. I would also say that I very much liked the practical effects as someone who, hi, hello, I'm an actor. I just very much enjoy like thinking of behind the scenes stuff. And so I just like thinking about the fact that how practically that would work. I also find the scenes where they're trying to get into their meat suits very funny because you have these actors who are in these like alien suits holding these meat suits trying to like get into them. It's just really funny to watch. I'd recommend you go watch the episodes if it's been a while since you've seen it. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd be fun to recap my favorite episode of the Ninth Doctor's one season. I know this is going to be harder for me when I get to the 10th Doctor because he has 3 seasons for me to decide from. But please tell me for the Ninth Doctor, what is your favorite episode of his season or episodes if it's one of the many two-parters. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Like if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more of me. I do try to post Wednesday, but I hope you have a good weekend, weekday, weeknight, and bye!